Thank you everyone for coming down to downtown Magna Carta Place. I'm going to hand over to Jody. He's going to bid you good dawning, greetings. He's on top of his vocabulary now. Thanks to Mookie from TASA.
I got caught twice this morning saying it at the gate. I'm still broken, man. 48 years of indoctrination. I'm working on it.
There you go, bro.
All right, you're officially listening to my 7th public speech. So I'm trying to get better. You're here in Canberra today. What will we say? It's the corporate capital of where the CEOs of the Commonwealth of Australia Proprietary Limited live. It is not our base for our constitution. It is not our home for good governing of our country anymore. It has turned into something that is, I think everybody that's here, that's made their way down with us, has done a fantastic job. And I can tell you that every conversation, every hug that I've had, every time that I've spent with the wonderful people that have made the effort, has reminded me that we've all got a reason to be a victim and do nothing.
Yeah.
Every person here is hobbling, limping, hurting, broke, jobless, homeless. Their cars are running on, their fumes, their tyres are, their cars are clicking and knocking, right? Because we live in a country that is taking every single red cent off us every second of the day. We decided on this journey, we've been talking about how do we avoid taxes, and we believe that if you turn your power box off at night before you go to bed, you might be able to have a sleep and be the only time in your life that you're not paying a tax. Because even when the fan's spinning, you're paying something for tax. It's terrifying to think that we've come this far, that we've got to keep coming down and peacefully assembling at the Capitol to get these grubs to listen to us, and they aren't listening to us anymore because they have removed us and them right into an area that is no longer protected by that constitution. And that's why when we see people like Dr. Beverly Pearce, 80-year-old twin sister Valerie, doing the tough work that it takes to self-fund, self-represent on behalf of the Australian people's rights in that constitution, we've got to do everything we can to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Jackie has done a fantastic job of making that document available to us, and we've thrown this together with a handful of people and thousands of wonderful Australians in about 3.5 weeks. We don't need hierarchies. We don't need big teams. We don't need corruptible systems that continue to get taken over, sold out, bought off over and over and over again. We need community, and the shape of a community is a circle. You do not know where it starts, you do not know where it ends. There's no weak points. There's no corners for things to hide in like triangles and pyramids. Yeah. There's no oblongs for Ponzi schemes. It is circular in nature, and everybody holds arm to arm because that's the only way we're going to take back this country peacefully. Because every time in history where we've had to wait until there was war or there was conflict or there was death and injury, we got the result after that. But by Christ, I don't want to do it. And if I'm honest, the war already started when they started jabbing us, and there's already been enough death and injury. Right. Our food is poisoned, our water is poisoned, our parks are flattened, our taxes on taxes on tax, and unfortunately the best thing that happened to this country in my eyes is Albanese getting a second term, because we genuinely think that whenever Liberal takes over from Labor, we're happy that we spited Labor, or Labor takes over from Liberal in 22 and we're happy that we spited the opposition, because we've got used to the fact that two parties can only be in power for 125 years that has gone back and forth between the two of them. These are the things that I'm learning as I start to open my eyes and realise how asleep I was at the wheel. And 5 years ago I got smacked up the side of the head and said, does not matter how much money you've got, how big of a fancy job you've got, doesn't matter where you live, what you do, unless you're a government official, of course, you won't get an exemption, you won't be able to work, you won't be able to pay for your life, and anything that you have left over, they'll rob in inflation. That hidden tax that every day, for 50 years now, we've been excitedly happy through capitalism that every year something's going to cost more. Every year. Why? How in a world of technology does every year things cost more? In fact, the only things that usually cost a little bit less are the things that are involved in consumerism so that you can go and get a new TV every year.
Oh, McDonald's is pretty cheap.
McDonald's is pretty cheap. 17 aisles in a supermarket and there's about half of one aisle that says the health food section. What's the rest of it? Absolute shit. Right? I used to make hay on my farm down on the Murray River, and I couldn't sell a bale of hay to a farmer for his horses or for his cattle without a certificate saying how good a quality the hay was in protein and megajoules, because he wouldn't feed his animals shit, because that was his livelihood. And yet an entire country is consuming it like it's going out of fashion, and we wonder why we can't understand a little bit of our constitution, common law, can't remember in long form the words that we need to defend ourselves when they come against us. And now we're going to get to the point where everybody's learning that we're going to defend ourselves, and that's the worst place to be. In the corner of their boxing ring, they own the judge, they own the refs, right? And they own 2 or 3 of the boxers that are in there swinging punches at you, and people are ringing us now going, "What do we do? Help us out." And I'm like, too late. Now it's block. And get out of that ring, pay the fine and learn. So I ask everybody on this journey, if you don't know your constitution, if you don't know your common law, if you don't know your rights, if you haven't got the information from the people like the corruption whistleblower, if you haven't got the evidence that you're going to hear today with this grand jury indictment, then take it away with you. If you haven't got the papers we've been giving out, the corruption whistleblower paper, the Lighthouse newspaper, the Anti-Corruption Academy paper, the flyers that have got the groups with remedies of different sorts on the back of them. If you haven't got the knowledge and information and you can't get it in there, question your water, question your chemicals, question your intake, right? What is the body asking for really, and what do we have to do to give it to make it through a day? Because we know that we're all so bloody tired. Everyone asks where the young people are. Well, they're at bloody work. The average homeland in this country is now $580,000. That's about $1,250 a week for an average repayment. That's one full-time income just to make payment on a minimum payment on a mortgage. That's the Australian average. In our cities where 70% of our people live, we're talking 18-to-1 income to cost of the house ratio, 20-to-1 in Sydney, so 18-to-1 Brisbane, 20-to-1 Sydney, 21-to-1 in Melbourne. I bought a house at 24-year-old in Buderim, Meadows, for $194,000. I was on about $60,000 a year. It was a good wage. My daughter lives there in the same place, just up the road from that house. I don't own it anymore. I don't talk about it. Well, everyone's got one of those stories, right? Everyone's got one of those stories. My ex would have took it in a divorce anyway, so let's be serious with him about it. It sold the other day for $1,050,000. The deposit on that is about $15,000 more than what I paid for it in whole, and my daughter is still on about $66,000 a year.
Yeah.
She will never own her own home anywhere near our coast. They will retreat us back under the Sendai framework and under the UN disaster risk reduction plan. I urge you, every single person here, when you get home, go to your council and start asking the councillors what their risk reduction for climate change is named. It'll all be something different. It'll be disaster, it'll be fear, it'll be horror. Right, go there and start asking your questions. If you are paying rates at the moment and you don't understand why you should continue to pay tax on tax on tax on tax, 10%, 15%, 20% increases, put your money in a trust and say, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to pay my payments until you can tell me where you get your head of power under Section 51, because if we're not working off Section 128 of our Constitution, which is a referendum decision that we make the people, which we had twice for councils, and they said straight away, they went in and made it a local government authority straight away and had the councils not long after, 2 weeks after we said no in the last referendum in '88. Correct me if I'm wrong. Not long after we voted down the Voice, every single one of you racist people that voted no to it, right? Over half the country, a bunch of racists, according to the government, they got a name for everything. Right? Not long after that, they went straight to the states and started looking at making their voices come out through the state legislation. Exactly the same as what they did through the councils. So they don't have any respect for our Constitution. Right, they don't have any respect for the fact that they are breaching possibly so many various levels of it. That's what Jackie will talk about, talking about 92 for Rod for travelling, 109 Dr. Beverly with the federal gazumping, the state rulings. These things have to be heard by our people, they have to be understood by our people, and we've got to start talking in a language where they can understand again, right? Because that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to conjure it down from the big mama bird taking the worm, give it a little chew up and spit it out to the little baby bird so they can go, right. Take a little bite so that you don't choke on the big fat truth of the fact that we don't know anything about our rights anymore. Particularly in this 5 years into it, right? 5 years into it, I've been asking people, I've been going, this would be a different crowd, this would be Canberra, you will know your rights a lot better than along the way, but I kept asking people, like, what part of the Constitution are you most upset has been overthrown? And then people do these, start doing these ones down there. Like, I can tell you where the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers started in 1890, made a bank, and then on to 1933. We can all tell what your Rumble videos tell us about, but we don't know shit about ourselves. So as we move forward, you know, when we take the piss out of the Americans in the deep south that roll around with the gators, and Mama said that we're going to get some gator there for dinner, and we say, look at the rednecks, and then you ask them about their rights. And they'll bloody tell you their rights. They'll tell you, they'll name all of them. They'll know the Constitution, they'll know their Bill of Rights, they'll know them, right? And then we come back here and we think that we're better than those rednecks over there. And I ask our people, what are our rights? And they'll repeat some shit from America that we've been watching online for 5 years because the gatekeepers want to keep us dumb, keep us just leaving behind, keep us waiting for an election. We have to be the change we want to see. And that's what we're going to do from now on. It's going to be remedy-based and it's going to start here today. The wonderful people from the Corruption Whistleblower. Jack, did you? I think Jack's got out the back. So we're going to get going. We're going to get going. Is that all you need from us? I'm literally flying out of here in a couple of hours, so I'll be up the back. I'll give you my love now and say thank you so much for making this possible. You know, I know that this is the danger zone down here. I know this is the most dangerous place that we can be when we're protesting against it. This is our country, right?
Thank you for your efforts, Jody.
Thank you for coming. So I think everybody in this country that's been watching, we've had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of you. Everybody's saying, oh, why didn't we know about it? How do we take part? What can we do? Well, this morning at 4:30, as I do, my brain woke me up and said, hey, oi, Peanut, wake up. Why don't we have Freedom Unites Country to Coast Parade? And that way we can keep all of our rhetoric, we can keep all of our logos and our stickers, and we can make sure that every small township that's got their freedom fighting group that we found on the way down there, we'll organise a national event where they can drive their 100Ks around their cities and get their 20 and 30 cars, and we'll do it again. Right? So we'll see that when we get home, we'll change the labelling from the FUCCP will stay, but the Freedom Unites Cairns to Canberra will change from the Freedom Unites Coast to Country Parade. And we're going to organise, make sure that every person that wants to take part can. Because that's what this is about, organic growth of this country standing together, because we have one common enemy, right? One common enemy. And we the people are about to exit them out of this country. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Let's give it up for Jody. What an effort he's made to bring this all together. Freedom United, Freedom Unites. That's what we're doing now. Oh, we so appreciate you all coming here today. Thanks, Jody. Safe travels. Bless you. All the best. Yeah, thanks so much. Excellent work. So today we're running a grand jury for under the People's Court, and clearly we're at Magna Carta Place. So we're gathered here today, and it's not even that cold. Hey, yahoo for the weather. I reckon we got some favour. Sunny, beautiful. I did not dream we would be here on such a beautiful morning. So big hallelujah for the weather and whoever's in charge of that.
I ordered it last time.
Oh, did you order it? Good work, thanks for that. So yeah, we're here, very symbolic being here on the grounds of Magna Carta. And because we're not just here to be witnesses, but we're actually here to take part in restoring truth and justice. And we're very much here as a foundational movement. You are all the founders, really, of the truth movement. And without you, there's no going forward. So as we all come together, let's get to know each other, switch out each other's phone numbers, keep in touch, you know, bolster your groups. And then as we do this again and again, it'll get bigger and bigger, and then there will be a point where it won't have to be done anymore. Yeah, hip hooray for that day. So what we've got today, looks like we've got a great turnout, and we thank you for that. We've got participation forms here, and we've got the evidence. We've got a massive 46-pager that we'll be going through. We'll do it excitingly, because it's all about your future and your children's future and your grandchildren and the legacy that you leave. So to get your head around this is a great thing. We'll run through their crimes, being, of course, acts of treason on the people, major fraud, insurrection, child abduction, child trafficking, genocide, crimes against humanity, perverting the course of justice, dishonestly dealing in documents, gaining a financial gain by gaining a financial advantage by deception, referendum fraud, making false oaths, and slavery and torture, which they are guilty of all these things, but we'll leave that up to you as we go through the grand jury indictment. But that's what we're looking to indict them on, those kind of crimes. And this is the book of evidence that will prove and bolster those crimes that we've outlined. So we've got the big brief of evidence and the participation form. So who would like to be a juror today? Show of hands. Show of hands. If you'd like to be a juror today, I would love you to come up the front and collect a participation form.
You want sheriffs?
Sheriffs would be fine, yes, sheriffs. And if you miss out on a form, come and see us afterwards. With the evidence, the big document, I'd like you to share that between 3 or as many people as possible, because we don't have a screen or the capacity to set a screen up. Sorry about that. We don't have any power. So we're going to be sharing the big document. So take a big document, take a participation form, share them around. So thank you, for being involved. If you wanted to look at the documents and you don't get one, they're on the Telegram channel, Corruption Whistleblower on Telegram. I've pinned them there.
Tanya.
So you can, thank you for coming up.
Hey, boo.
So yeah, if you did want to jump on Telegram, you can see the papers there. That's the evidence we'll be running through the big form. Okay, we'll just run through the oath quickly. You can all take the oath, and if you want to come and see us later, or you want to download the paperwork from Telegram, you can download the paperwork from Telegram, and you can print off and post us any other paperwork to Goulburn. Oh, thanks so much, mate. Thank you for that. Yeah, be an Australian resident, over 18, and to hide in a lot of those participation forms. We're printing some more. Come and see us. Oh, like I said, otherwise. So I'll get you all to. I'll read through the grand jury oath. So we all are sworn in at the grand jury. So treason, fraud, and democide, and other crimes, as you'll see outlined in the next document, Annexure 1. So the grand jury oath is, I do solemnly affirm that I will diligently and impartially inquire into all matters that come before this grand jury according to the best of my ability. I will uphold the principles of justice as all are equal before the law, ensuring that no individual is wrongly accused and that all evidence is fairly considered. I am of sound mind and reason and participate from free will in good faith. I render my decision based upon lawful due process regarding the evidence presented, and with my best judgment, free from bias, fear or favour, I will neither indict any person through malice nor fail to indict through undue influence or fear. I will faithfully discharge my duties as a grand juror to the best of my ability, so help me God, under the penalty of perjury. So, I affirm, you affirm, do you affirm? Say I do.
I do.
I do, beautiful. You're all sworn in, whether you've got a piece of paper or not. Thank you for that. We're all ready to rock and roll now. So yes, we've gathered today here. The documents that we've used in here, you've got the big, thick form for that. And a lot of the documents as well are also in the first edition of the revised Corruption Whistleblower newspaper. The 235 parliamentarians behind us, the corporate criminals, have been served this officially, and they've been served the first edition, and everyone who got served is written in this revised first edition. So they know, like Jodie says, they know, we know, they know. that we know, that they know. So that they do know what's going on. It's not a secret to them. So, you know, I'm going to introduce Peter. Peter Horton is my husband, my colleague. He's behind the brainchild, behind the corruption whistleblower. Gives me wings to fly. 2.5 years in jail as a political prisoner. Comes out fighting, says, let's do the corruption whistleblower as he's, you know, walking out the jail basically. So it didn't crush him at all. They threw him in jail. They stripped him of his assets, which was, you know, 60, 70 million, which he's currently fighting to get back. So he's been, he's got a lot of skin in the game, and it gives us great pleasure to see you all here and to run a grand jury indictment on such disgusting criminals that have harmed many, many people through the judiciary, through the medical, through, as you know, all the different areas of education, and of course the media being unindicted co-conspirators, so they're getting indicted as well. So so Peter Horton, he brings lived experience to this. He's not just a man who's studied a bit of politics and sits in some cushy job up there. He's done the hard yards, and it's made him learn quick. It's made him study. He studied with Dick Yardley. He studied with David Walters. Seen Wayne Glue. Wants them all to come together. You know, we work with executiveorders.life. I'm a sheriff and a convener from trained up from Leith Masters at executiveorders.life. Go Leith, you treasure. And the WA sheriffs, love all of them training everyone up. So they're doing great work as well. So yeah, we're bringing all the groups together as best as we can. So I would like to hand over now to Peter, who's going to run through the evidence, and at the end we'll run through the child section, and then we'll take some votes on if you think these criminals behind us are worthy of being indicted or not. We have done the first indictment, as you know, from the 8th of February, and that's coming together well. These signatures will be added to that as we press forward and get that into the ICC. We're formulating it so it's acceptable to the ICC. We've added a little bit more to this grand jury, and we've formulated it to go to not only the ICC, but you know, Interpol and the numerous embassies around the place. So, all right. I introduce and warm welcome, please, to Peter Horton.
Hey, Peter.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for coming. So today, for those of you who've got the brief of evidence, I'd like you to share with the people next to you, because we didn't have enough time to print a copy for everybody, but you can download a copy online from the corruption whistleblower. And for those of you who, as I said, didn't get a chance to get the brief of evidence, you can download that from corruptionwhistleblower.com. And also the participation form, if later on you want to take a bit of time and then maybe download it from there and then post it to us on the address that's on there. Okay, today we're going to walk through the brief of evidence, and we're going to start with, firstly, that you all comprehend that a grand jury is to create the criminal charge. It's not jury trial. We're not convicting them today. We're gathering as a community and saying we've looked at the evidence and that there's more than a probable cause to create the indictment and the criminal charge. Our court system at the moment is completely broken. We don't have anywhere to take it to, so I've had people say to me, oh, when is it going to court? There's no courts here. They're all fraudulent. So we are going to attempt to put them into the International Criminal Court. They're probably toothless tigers, we don't know. But once the system turns over, these indictment forms will be the basis of their criminal charges. So, and I just want to mention that Jody Lowe before mentioned about, you know, the Constitution, and many of us don't really comprehend whereabouts our rights have been breached. Well, the main one that's been breached is Section 128. And I ask you to turn in the brief of evidence to page 5, because it's got it written there. And what it basically says there is that any law that they make, it first has to go through the House of Representatives. It must go through the first speech reading, the second speech reading, the third speech reading, and then it must be put to the electors. And I'll read that out to you, because we know that they aren't doing that. They're just passing laws up in their own little private political party Parliament House, which we don't have shares in. We only have one share in the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act and the Government of the Commonwealth of Australia to vote for laws for living people, but none of us have any shares in the Australian Government. It's a big con. That's why we're voting in pencil. So I'll just read out to you section 128, and it states clearly, the proposed law to alteration thereof must be passed by an absolute majority of each House of Parliament, and not less than two nor more than 6 months after its passage through both houses, as I said to you. The proposed law shall be submitted to each state to the electors qualified to vote the election of members of the House of Representatives. So what that means is, if you're able to vote or eligible to vote, then that law that they pass inside there between themselves must be given to us to say yes or no, which they're not doing. And we'll see that in the referendum page when we get to the end. I'll run through all the pieces of evidence, and then you can reflect on that referendum page. Not the clearest in this form, but if you have trouble reading it, you can simply go to Google on your phone and type in referendum dates and results, and that's where the evidence came from. So you can go back and have a look at there. So can we move to page 6, please? Page 6, up the top, we have in 1960 was the Great Seal of the Commonwealth.
Is that better?
Thank you, sorry about that. So if we go up to page, on page 6, we can have a look. Clearly there's a Great Seal of the Commonwealth of Australia. But that was changed in 1960 without our consent, and you can reflect back onto that referendum page when we get there, to the Great Seal of Australia with the Queen of Australia. Now we all know there's no Queen of Australia, it's a piece of paper. So basically when a great man, Rod Cullerton, on this same page here, and the evidence is here, made an application to the Attorney General to ask them what power or what instrument was used to remove the Great Seal of the Commonwealth. And when we're talking about the Commonwealth, we're talking about public welfare, or the general public of the Commonwealth. That's we the people. So they've basically removed we the people from their system, but they've done it by stealth, because us Australians have the right to live a free life and live the life we want on this great country. But we've lost sight of the things they're doing behind the scenes. So anyway, Rod Cullerton made an application to the Attorney General to ask for that instrument, and you can see on that page, same page there, that the documents do not exist. So we've basically had no Governor General here since 1960, none. So there's been no law here, no valid law here since 1960. It's been treason from then on since. And we can travel to the next page, please. On page 7, you can see that a smart gentleman wrote a letter to the King's Garter of Arms at the College of Arms in London, and asked them if the Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Australia, exists in any instrument over there, and the response was no. They do not recognise that seal, but they're using that seal today. So to get around this, they copyrighted our primary law, the Commonwealth Constitution Act, and you can see that when you have a look at it, it's got a copyright seal on it. That's not in this evidence, but any of you that want to do your research later, it's in the paper, so you can go back and reflect on that. It's all there. Otherwise, this brief of evidence would be, you know, a foot tall, and we'd never get through it. So I wanted to move to the next page now, page 8, and here we've got the signing of the Royal Styles and Titles Act number 214 of 1973, and we can see that Queen Elizabeth signs it up on the top right hand side of the page, and they say that that's a valid contract between them and the private political parties. Well, it's not, because we all know that when we sign anything, we sign down the bottom of the page, which means we're subordinate to what's written above it. And here what this signature up the top's basically saying is that it requires a referendum, which they didn't have. They just marched forward. In 1973, Gough Whitlam did a lot of damage to this country. So we can now proceed to the next page, which shows you, it's not 100% clear on this page, but if you have a look, and anybody that goes on to documenting democracy, you can find this document there, the Royal Styles and Titles Act. If you have a close look at it, 3/4 of the way down, it says, "In the name of Her Majesty, I sent to this act," but it's got a line through it. So somebody else has signed it, Paul Haslock. So it's a fraudulent document. And so we can also see under there, it's a bit blurry, but even on the documenting democracy, it's very hard to read because I don't want you to read it. It's a purported law. And purported means appearing or stated to be true, not necessarily so. Allegedly, the purported marriage was void. So purport is not a valid, it is stating it's not valid. So can we move to page 10, Queen of Australia. So in 1973, the private political party Parliament, while sitting in the People's White Original Parliament House, removed the living Queen from their acts. And if you notice, see, all these people are swearing to Queen of Australia, and in the last grand jury indictment, we were lucky enough to have some very good audio people where we could put up all the different prime ministers that had sworn an allegiance to Queen of Australia or thereof, not the proper oath. So anybody that wants to do their research, you can simply go, Malcolm Turnbull swearing their oath onto YouTube. All the evidence is there. And under contract law, basically and this is a spiritual war, they have to tell us what they're doing, and they have been, but we haven't been paying attention. But now we are paying attention, and it doesn't change the fact that they committed treason, fraud, insurrection, and many of those other crimes that are outlined on your participation form. So we'll move to page 11. Now that's the front cover of a final report of the Constitutional Commission of 1988, and we're going to have a look at the evidence behind that. So they're still trying to get the Queen of Australia approved. Even though she's passed away, we now have the King of Australia, which is the same rubbish. There's no oath, there's no constitutional rules or laws or amendments being approved in this nation for any Queen or King of Australia. So I'll let you brush through those documents because I haven't got time to read every word of these things. That's why we've given you the brief of evidence to do your brief homework, and you can check all this stuff on Google because it's all there. So in Bill number 1 of the Constitutional Commission, Part 3, Section 2 of the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act is altered by omitting the words the United Kingdom and substituting the word Australia. So basically what they did is that the private political parties made it their Australia, consumed all the assets in this nation, all your wills and testaments, your motor vehicles, your title deeds and everything all went into their coffers to administer, but they didn't ask us. Shame, more than shame, it's more than shame. And if we go to the next page, on page 14, Bill number 2, where it says here, be enacted by the Parliament of the Commonwealth of Australia with the approval of the electors as required by the Constitution as follows. Short title. An act may be cited as the constitutional alteration, oath and affirmation. And 2, the schedule is altered by omitting thereof the words the United Kingdom, Great Britain, Ireland and substituting it for Australia. This is where the big takeover took over. But we don't know because we didn't have internet back then. And so it's been one big perversion of justice for their private political party's profit. They make the big profits, they pay themselves the big money, and we get the slavery. Now, we can go to page 15, the Australia Act. that's the front cover, and we'll go over to page 16, and we can see there in red line, page 16, sorry, and we can see there in the red lines on there that it says the Commonwealth Constitution, the Constitution Act of the State of Westminster not affected, but it is affected in a grave way. And also the amendment of the Constitution Act of Queensland and Western Australia not affected. Now the reason they put that in there is because there were double entrenched referendum acts put together in Queensland and Western Australia. And I'll just quickly explain that. A single entrenched referendum is where people are sitting around a table and they have a single entrenched referendum between themselves, but double entrenched means all the people. But in the Australia Act, they did modify it. And if we can go to the next page 7, and you can see once again they've got their kangaroo and emu with their Roman reef seal on it. But if we're under the Crown, then it must be the lining unicorn seals. Cannot be another seal. So they've changed the seals, they've changed the ownership, and they've changed all the ownership of all of our possessions, because there's no land in fee simple anymore. It's just not in fee simple. If everybody looks on their title deed, it says fee simple. So they've stolen everything. So we'll just, and remember this, when we outlining this Australia Act, when we get to the referendum dates and results page, you can reflect all this stuff and see if there's any referendums there. There's none. So if we can move now to page 24. Now, down the bottom of this page, just to keep it brief, because remember we only have to have probable cause to create the indictment. It's not a beyond reasonable doubt trial, which is the second phase. And there's plenty enough evidence in here for an indictment, I can assure you, 50 times over. So we just go down to the bottom of the page. We can see a Supreme Court case and the transcripts, which I held in South Australia back in 2020, and I asked the judge, because I've been, slapped around by a cat and a bird, by a cat that's slapping a bird or a mouse around the courtrooms for numerous court cases, but I slowly worked it out. I'll take them to Western Australia first and Queensland, and that's what happened. And I was able to get him to say there's no referendum for the Australia Act, and so that means the Australia Act's finished. So numerous people were saying, "Oh, we've won," but the judge just goes away, even though he says these things on transcripts. They come away and make an ex parte decision and say, "No, you lost the case," held to other citations where other court cases have been ran over, and I don't know what evidence was run there, but the fact that he said it on the transcripts sort of shook them up a fair bit, and he probably would have got punished a bit for that in his Freemasonry world. But so we know that when you show them the evidence, they say, yeah, there's no referendum for the Australia Act. So once again, more treason, more fraud, more insurrection. Can we go to the next page, please? Page 25. Now, this is their constitution, their front page. But it's not a Constitution Act. It just says the Constitution. We've all got constitutions here. We're men, we're women, we eat food, we've got 2 legs, arms, and those other things that we've got that are independent of each other. But if you'll notice here in the middle of the page, it says their constitution's under the Australia Act. Well, the Australia Act's dead. They're just doing this stuff in front of us because there's not enough of us at this stage, but it's building. We know it's building because we've been doing the paper around the country and doing talks on it, and we know it's building. But it's one by one. It's a little bit of a slow process, but it is speeding up. So if their constitution, which is not a Constitution Act, is under the Australia Act, which is no referendum for, more treason, more fraud, more insurrection. We can travel to the next page now, please, page 26. And you can see here, the Commonwealth of Australia is registered in Washington, DC as a private corporation. But if we were all to have shares in that private corporation, we'd get share notices every year saying this is how your business is going, here's your dividend, but we don't. and it's a play on words. It doesn't say the government of the Commonwealth of Australia, it just says Commonwealth of Australia. The whole show, the whole shit show is a play on words. Can we now move to the next page, please? So now we have the referendum dates and results. So that's for you guys now, while you're making your deliberation. When we get to the end of it, you can look through there, or if you can't read it quite, probably is a little bit small print. I have trouble reading it. You can soon work out that there's no referendum for the Australia Act, there's no referendum for Queen of Australia, and these things are outlined on the right-hand side. So there's your evidence. The evidence is here. We've just got to be proactive and do something about it. And this was the idea behind the grand juries, as we ran the first one in the Parliament House. This is the second one. We'll move on to the Statute Law Revision Act on page 28. Now here's where there's some really serious evidence about them removing the word the Commonwealth. And they've removed it. We can travel now to page 29. I'll let you have a read of that in your own time, but I just wanted to point out the actual evidence which is on the next page, on page 30. So inside the Statute Law Revision Act number 216 of 1973, that's what governs all acts. And so in that Statute Law Revision Act, it governs 425 different acts. And in that Statute Law Revision Act, it demonstrated to us when we pulled it apart every page, there were actually alterations to all those acts. But critically, in the Acts Interpretation Act, and on page 30, we can see up the top there, on the right-hand side, it says, omit from paragraph P the words governed and replace it with administered. So we've got foreign administrators administering our government of the Commonwealth of Australia. That's how it works. Shame, it's treason, it's insurrection, and it's fraud, and many other things. So even if you go down to where it says 31 there, they've even changed, the Chief Electoral Officer for the Commonwealth and insert Chief Australian Electoral Officer. So I'll let you go through these pages here at your own good time if you don't feel there's enough evidence, you can go through this evidence with a fine-tooth comb and you'll just find tons of treason. There's just heaps of it. Heaps of fraud, heaps of treason, and heaps of insurrection. Can we now please move to, and like I said, I would go through those pages as I'm speaking and just have a quick look, because the main acts that they change are in here. And so that Statute Law Revision Act, I just wanted to point out, back on that front page where you saw it, there's no seal on it. So if there's no seal on it, where does it get its head of power? But strangely enough, if we go to page 33, the Statute Law Revision Act of 1996, quite a few years later, we can look down the bottom here and where it says Schedule 5, we're on page 33, and it talks about gender neutral language. Gender neutral language.
Shame!
And the reason behind that is because corporations can do business with other corporations, but they can't do business with the living man. So slowly but surely, under our birth certificates, because that's what makes us corporations, and I know there are some people who say forget the birth certificate, but we can't, because that's where the fraud begins, and that's how the Australian government have leveraged us, because they get all the money from it by administering us. And that's why it says administer in the Acts Interpretations Act. So if we come down to these acts here, it's got the page numbers. Now, like I said, if we couldn't put all this evidence in one pile, because it'd be a foot high, but it's got the page numbers in those acts for anybody who wants to take this brief of evidence. And for those of you who don't have it, you can download it from corruptionwhistleblower.com and have a look at it, and you can then go to those pages and have a look at it. This is actual fact. I don't present rubbish, and there's been many people that have helped me put this this stuff together over the years, or people who have trained my constitutional knowledge. It's not perfect because it's so complicated and so diluted. It's like a bucket of eels when you look at it. It really is. It's just that bad. So I want to now go to page 34. And here we got the Collins English Dictionary meanings of gender, and I'll let you go through that, which means, you know, we are men and women. So now can we go down a little bit, halfway down that page, and we've got the Australia's Constitution. That's their copyrighted version. So in Australia's Constitution at Chapter 1, and you'll notice the kangaroo and emu fraudulent corporate seal on there. What is the, and this is where it starts to get really weird, and they really do stuff right in front of our faces, but we're not looking. But now we're starting to look. They're going to have some serious problems, and they don't know what they're going to do about it because the lies are so phenomenal. So it says salary of the Governor General at section 3 there. And if you can see where it's been underlined, shall be there shall be payable to the Queen out of the Consolidated Revenue Fund, which we don't have at the moment, of the Commonwealth, but somehow of the Commonwealth, for the salary of the Governor General, an annual sum until the Parliament otherwise provides shall be £10,000. But this Act is 2003. So it's just mental stuff, but they just keep getting away with it. And I'm sure plenty of you know how Freemasonry work. They do stuff to us. We don't do anything about it, and they go and party up hard like they're at a rave show or something. They really do. But we know that the current Governor General, Samantha Moyston, is currently getting upwards of $700,000 a year in AU. Yep, the fiat currency. The fiat currency. So we can go to, and this is a real strategic piece of evidence. We can go to page, how many of you are aware of seeing the Sergeant Previtt document? Has anybody seen that before? So I want you to turn to page 36. It doesn't have a page number on it, but it's after page 35. Anyway, what is, and this is where the Constitution gets real messy. It really does. For those constitutionalists that aren't paying attention, they need to pay attention to this, because the whole thing's a mess from beginning to end. Now, what is Sergeant David Previtt, and he's Traffic and Highway Patrol Command. He's in charge of a lot of coppers. Now, a gentleman named Gypsy wrote him a letter saying, "Well, I'm not a sovereign. I'm not a citizen, and I'm not a subject." So what Previtt said to him is, having refreshed my knowledge of Article 2 of the Geneva Convention and taking into account of the unelected government in 1975. Now what he's talking about then is when Whitlam got sacked and Fraser took over, but there was no election. So we went from Liberal to Labor with no election. So, I mean, there's just that much evidence here that these guys are all part of the same crew, just, you know, messing with us big time, because we won't wake up, because they know that we think Australia is the lucky country, and it is, but they're slowly but surely siphoning it all away to foreign interests. So taking into account the actions of the unelected government in 1975 in regards to the bloodless coup d'etat taken in Canberra on 11th of November at 1 a.m, I am more aware of my role as an armed occupier of these lands. That's because when you look at Section 2B of the Acts Interpretation Act, it says Australia includes Norfolk Island, Christmas Island, and the islands of Cocos Island and Isle of Keeling. That's correct. So we don't even know if this is Australia, because the British territorials have just come and encroached themselves on this land. And like I said to you, we are civilians, we're not subjects, and we're not citizens. We're not citizens, we are civilians. And My position as an agent of the Crown is juxtaposed. That means working for both sides. For those who want to Google search it, juxtaposed with my role as an armed occupier. Clearly, under the Geneva Convention, I am at war with my own government, the Crown and myself. I patiently await the arrival of agents from a foreign land, and as they arrive, to extradite me to an international court, and that would supposed to be the ICC, but they don't seem to be doing too much at this time. But we will see after what Trump said to them. Possibly The Hague, that's right, for war crimes, where I may be held accountable for my actions. Anyway, then he terminates his conversations with Gypsy, because Gypsy drives around the nation with no rego and no licence. Now, can we move to page 37? Page 37 is section 44 of the Constitution. And what it says here, section 44, and this is where they all are disqualified today, because in their copyrighted constitution, they still have this section 44, but it's the copyrighted to their private political parties, so we're not allowed to use it, their copyrighted version. But however, it does clearly say it is under, if under any acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience or adherence to a foreign power, or is a subject or a citizen, or is entitled to the rights and privileges of a subject or a citizen of a foreign power, or it is attainted of treason, or has been convicted and is under sentence or subject to be sentenced for any offence punishable under the law of the Commonwealth. But we don't under the law of the Commonwealth, we're under the law of the Australian government at the moment, which is a corporation, or of a state by imprisonment for 1 year or longer. But a foreign power includes the UN, the WF, the WHO, and the Australian government has contracts or an allegiance to them, because the WHO's operating this country in the health, the World Economic Forum's running this country economically, and the UN seems to just take all of our, they say they're under the human rights, but we certainly don't have any, that's for sure. So I'll let you digest that page as well. And so when I spoke before, and we'll go to page 38, when I spoke before about the Great Seal of the Commonwealth of Australia being interchanged without our consent to the Great Seal of Australia, the Crimes Act of 1914 to 1960 still applies, because everything they did was treason. But slowly but surely we think the death penalty is being removed from this country, but it's been the private political parties, the private Governor-General, and not the people have agreed to remove that death penalty for treason, because treason affects, the 25 to 30 million people. We don't even really know the true number of the nation's people at this time, because the media and everything are just filthy liars, and are currently, in my perspective, I see them as unindicted co-conspirators of the fraud, and that will be a subject at a later time when we finally get, we the people, our government back. But I just wanted you to have a look at those crimes there, and it tells you what the punishment is. It's death.
Hang 'em.
Well, that would be, doing those things would be subject to a jury trial, so we never go around saying those words. We can say that these are the crimes and that's the punishment, but I'm just warning you, just be careful, because they will do something to you if you proclaim that to them too much. You can just point that out to them, and mostly they'll just go, we don't read that rubbish. Yeah, that's because you've got a workplace contract with the private political parties and the Australian government, or the South Australian government, the New South Wales government. But none of those governments are the governments of the Commonwealth of New South Wales, not the government of the Commonwealth of South Australia. There's no Commonwealth left here anymore, period.
Yeah, they just want to kill us all.
Now, in relation to the submission into the ICC, and this will prove to you that we are run by dictators. And let's move to page 39. And we can see in their Criminal Code Act 1995, once again their private little kangaroo and emu with their Roman reef under there. And so when you make an application to the International Criminal Court, and that's why Mark Dreyfus at the time, when we ran the first grand jury indictment, was one of the defendants. We made him one of the defendants, even though he would have been one of the defendants anyhow, but we made him one of the defendants because he is a criminal and would be easily proven in any court of law, easily. But let's just have a look at what they do to protect themselves. So and what we're saying is that S268121 and S268122, and we're on page 39 there, are an abomination of lawful rights for the people and has been another contributor to the current genocide we find ourselves in. Now let's have a look at section 268 of the Criminal Code Act. Stipulates that proceedings for offences under section 268, which covers crimes against humanity, genocide and war crimes, cannot be commenced without the written consent of the Attorney General. I mean, mind-boggling stuff. The Attorney General, meaning the Attorney General must give permission before any prosecution can begin on these serious international crimes. And then we have section 268122 of the Criminal Code Act, and prevents the appeal, reviewing or questioning of the Attorney General's decision. This decision made in relation to proceedings brought under Division 268 of the Criminal Code, which covers war crimes and genocide. So we know what's happened to the indigenous of this nation, the original people. They were slaughtered. It wasn't war, it was an encroachment. But slowly but surely, they shot them all out. And even though it's not the current government, the same thing's happening to us with the COVID jab and all the farmers committing suicide and all those sorts of things. Because it is because they make people commit suicide through the monetary instruments. And the money instrument in this country, being fear, is fraud. All money comes from our promise to pay. When you make that promise to pay to the bank, you give them a contract that you're going to pay them that much money. And when that goes on the bank's ledger, then they give it back to you. I've had many people say to me, oh, it comes from your Sedicate trust account. Well, I've never ever seen any evidence, but I have seen evidence that when you give them a promise to pay, they give you new money. Because when I made an application to the Freedom of Information about the bank's conduct, whether they accidentally did it or they just somehow they did it, but a piece of paper came back saying, yeah, I was given new money. So that's uncommercialised money. No, you created it by giving them the contract, but it's uncommercialised. And this is the main thing that devastates our society, is the money. Like the Rothschild said, we don't care who controls the country, we only want to control the money. And that's the death of us. So we're now going to move on to the witness statement. I won't be going to this in too much in depth, but you know that it's genocide. We all know it. So that's up for you to make your decision whether there's enough. And how many of you have seen the video, the witness statement? And if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's a bit of a lengthy film, but the evidence in there is mind-boggling.
Very good.
It is outstanding film. We thought it was outstanding. So, and it is in the evidence here. So it's a bit hard for me to go through those bits of pieces of evidence individually, because we'll be here for quite a while. But however, I have definitely presented the evidence for you to make your decision today. There's a little bit more to go through, and I'm going to let Donna run through the child protection section.
Yeah, we've got the witness statement books here if you want to come and grab one later.
And remember, this indictment, this grand jury is only to create the indictment. It's not, and I'm sure I'm pretty confident in your mind you already think they're guilty. There's enough evidence when you know.
We don't think, we know.
That's right. But in the end, these processes have to be done properly, all right? So I'm going to let Donna run through quickly the child protection section. So that's kidnapping. And child trafficking and kidnapping, and it's mind-boggling stuff when you look at the numbers in this nation that they take. But that'll be all from me today. And after we get to the end of it, we're going to ask for a show of hands to who wishes to indict them. Then you can sign your forms, and hand them up. And if you don't have a form, come and see us and we'll give you another participation form. We've got the printer over there so we can print some more out for you. So don't go without, if you're wishing to take part in it, because the idea is to get 10 or 20,000 of these, and then the International Criminal Court sees that 10 or 20,000 of us have asked for the indictment. It's not just one subject or one citizen or one civilian, because I'm telling you, plenty of subjects and citizens have made applications on their own and they just kick them to the curb because there's not enough power in one, there's power in mobs. And we are becoming a mob.
Truth and mob. Hey, truth and mob.
And thank you very much. I'm going to hand you over to Donna Michael.
Thank you, Peter. Excellent presentation. It's still going into my head, honestly. You still learn all the time. You pick up new little bits all the time, but I'm going to talk about the children at the moment. And that covers one of the things that they're getting indicted for. It covers the crimes against humanity and covers the child abduction and child trafficking. So we've got colossal numbers. We're witnessing catastrophic harm and colossal numbers with the corrupt for-profit child trafficking that we have here in Australia. They average uplifting 60,000 children a year. That's by their own statistics. They get $40,000 for the initial uplifts. A baby can be over $1 million a year to them. They get these huge financial incentives to remove the children. Yeah, come and join us. Come and join us. We've got huge financial incentives to remove the children. So you'll see in the revised edition, we've got a massive midsection of it that is dedicated to the uplifting and child trafficking that's happening on colossal levels in this nation. So these practices mirror the stolen generation, but it's across the board. Children are removed without cause. Families are destroyed under false pretenses and gossip reports. Loving, capable parents are targeted, criminalised, and while the children are isolated, sometimes drugged, they remove all of their social media. There's no way for them to contact the parents again. Parents can't contact them. It's a straight out kidnap, and they hold them hostage. They've done this to my daughter, and I represented myself in court and got her back after 36 days. We wanted her back. They wouldn't let her come back. She wanted to come back. That's a hostage situation, and I called them out for that. Charged them $10,000 an hour for kidnapping and holding her hostage. Represented myself in the youth court in South Australia, and after 36 days of not really knowing how she was, first 17 days not even knowing she's dead or alive. So this is what they're doing to family. I'm a microscopic universe of what's happening to 60,000 families and children in Australia. So we've got the highest per capita child removals in the world, more than America as well. So we are completely betrayed by the so-called child protection system. The funding is tied to removals. So they've got quotas that they have to get. Nancy Schaefer, she figured that out. She was a senator that they suicided in, she was a Georgia senator in America. They suicided her and her husband for her exposing that they have quotas to get. And of course, it's a colossal level of children being removed and moved over in the States as well. So the system gaslights the public, and the public think, oh, well, the child protection involved, they'll be fine. Oh, the police are there, they'll sort it out. No, that's not the case. They're lifting children from good families, and they're doing it at what we call at the threat of gunpoint. They're doing it at the threat of gunpoint. So if you don't cooperate, they will pull their guns out and make sure you cooperate. It's shame, it's criminal, it's the longitude, pain, trauma and harm they cause is actually unfathomable. To rip 8, 4, 6-year-olds away from their mothers screaming, and it's just a cut like a big guillotine on the apron strings, and those children are just ripped away, never to be, Nancy Schaefer says it as well, never to be restored again. Even if they come back to the families, it's never the same. They've broken that bond, and they destroy the families all for profit. These institutions are not here to help. They often target innocent families, single parents, homeschoolers, Christian families. If you don't want to be involved in LGBTQRST, you will be targeted. If you don't want to go and let your child mutilate themselves, with self-mutilation, doing, gender mutilation, then you'll be targeted. So this is the disgusting level of immoral child trafficking that we're currently faced with. These institutions were once trusted, but now they turn a blind eye to the harm that they themselves are causing. I used to sit across from them and I say, you are delusional, thinking that you're helping children and families. I'd sit across from them in the DCP, Department for Child Protection in Noarlunga, and I'll clearly tell them, done numerous videos on it as well. They know, they high-five each other when they snatch people's children in the court. They're cheering each other like it's some kind of prize they've won, and that's for profit. So we call on the people to definitely come together. This is one of the things we'll be indicting them on, and we've got social workers in the actual indictment form. So we call on the people to rise together to protect our children and restore families, to expose this truth, these rogue corporate state for-profit agencies, not only for snatching children, for throwing people in prison unlawfully, the whole lot, you know what it's like. So that's the end of the brief of evidence. We just, as you've seen from the first one, we have added a bit more onto this one. We really want to get the child trafficking in there because it's happening at such a colossal rate, and the mums and dads are so devastated. It's very hard for them to stand up for themselves. So I would say if you're having these kind of troubles, I just want to say before we do call the vote, that it would be good for you to go onto executiveorders.life and go to the Wednesday night meeting at 7:30. I think it's 5:30 WA time. So if you do need support, or you know anyone who needs support, they've got case workers. They can help you and navigate through. They helped me get my daughter back, and they can help you with lots of different legal, legislative, and lawful matters. So it's executiveorders.life. So what I'll be doing now, you have heard all of the evidence now. And I'll get Peter to turn the camera around, because I would have to say now, if you are willing to pass the grand jury indictment for treason against the people, major fraud, insurrection, child abductions and trafficking, genocide, democide, which is noted by government, crimes against humanity, perverting the course of justice, dishonestly dealing in documents, gaining financial advantage by deception, referendum frauds, making false oaths, slavery and torture. These are the crimes we'll be indicting the people who are in the pictures and names on the indictment forms. So I'd like you to raise your hand if you agree to the indictment of the Parliament and the officialdom. It's a unanimous agreement. Is there anyone who disagrees? Please raise your hand. And anyone who has abstained from voting, please raise your hand. So we can clearly see we have a unanimous vote to indict the Australian government and the officialdom, and we will continue to press on with the paperwork, serve them, serve the ICC and anyone else who needs to be informed. I thank you all very much. The indictment has now been passed in full unanimously, and I congratulate you, the people. Thank you very much. And so if you do require a participation form, or you'd like to review the brief of evidence, it is on the Telegram channel, Corruption Whistleblower Telegram channel. I've got a couple of them. Look, I've just pinned it there for you if you want to have a look at the electronic version or print anything else off. If you have any questions, do you want to do any questions or anything? We're happy to do a few questions and answers if you've got any questions. I'll need Peter to help answer most of them now. Yeah, here's a question. You got a question? Yeah, come on up. Thank you, everyone. Good work.
Yeah, here's one. It just occurred to me today. So if the Australian government, was it the Commonwealth of Australia, is registered in America as a business, then who's the foreign power then? I'm just thinking, is there a twist there? Like,
Oh, there's many twists and turns.
Yeah, so
Peter will answer that.
So I'm just thinking, like, then we're an American company, so who's foreign? I don't know. If you've got any ideas on that, yeah.
Well, it's a pretty straightforward answer to that question, because anything foreign from here isn't run by we the people.
Yeah.
So if they're registered in Washington DC and we don't have shares in there, who are they and how did they get consent and how did they get ownership of all of our property?
They're a foreign agency considered a foreign occupier
Yep.
and a national security risk for Australian people.
Absolutely.
They are a national at a risk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Any more questions or anything? We're happy to answer anything. Beautiful.
Could you explain the fiduciary of duty?
Oh, I don't talk about fiduciary duty. That's Ramona's work. No, it is. We all do. Yeah, it's what they're held to. Yeah, it's what they're held to. Thank you, everyone. I'll come back to you. If you want a participation form, please come and see us. I think we've got a barbecue with the Governor General crew, which are probably out the front of the Governor General's house now. And
No, we're here.
oh, you're here. I hear you are. You want to say anything?
Yes.
I'd love you to.
Hi, I'm Anita. We'd like to invite you all to join us over at the Governor General's front gate. At the moment, we're addressing the Governor General weekly. We used to do it every day for over 3 years. It's an open mic, so you're all welcome to say whatever you like to the Governor General. There may be children present, so keep it decent. But yeah, please join us. I guess we'll convoy over there. Thank you.